Dante Dixon Jr. was forging his own path. He would soon become known as G-Rock, an aspiring rapper with raw talent and an even rawer story. G-Rock hailed from Edmondson Village, a neighborhood on Baltimore's west side. It was an area that had seen its share of hardship. Growing up there meant witnessing crime, poverty, and struggle on a daily basis.
Sadly, the crime scene is still littered with medical gloves and other signs of trauma. Now, we did find something that may be helpful to police. Surveillance cameras. We counted at least a half dozen surveillance cameras, all pointing in the direction of the shooting.
I heard the pop, 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 and my son started saying, "Mommy, is they gunshots?" And he just started crying.
That gunfire hit 5 teenagers and killed a 16-year-old. The shooting took place as the victims, students from Edmondson Westside High School, gathered during a lunch break in front of Popeyes at the Edmondson Village Shopping Center.
Yeah, G-Rock, Teflon Dons, my man Swine right here. Reload though, showing what it is. W Zone, we from Edmondson Village, niggas already know what it is. From a juvie to a grown man, I sling my own gram. I stack paper, duck haters, that's the program. They said they catching bodies, but I heard they tones jam. I don't gotta hit the block because my phone jam. But I still do, send 1,000 pills through. Bring me back 10, 3,000, what I'ma give you. Try a dip for me, a nigga gon' have to kill you. Yams on the scale and the lean in the fridge too.
Before we get started on this video, make sure you go check out my website. That's in the description, where I post viral videos daily. And plus, make sure you like the video and share it with someone to spread the violence awareness. For Dante, music was more than a hobby. It was a lifeline, an outlet to make sense of the world around him. From a young age, Dante gravitated toward hip-hop. He was an ADS baby coming of age in the 90s when Baltimore streets were plagued by the crack epidemic and gangs battled for corners. By his teen years, he was scribbling rhymes in notebooks, inspired by the likes of Tupac and Jay-Z, but grounded in the reality of West Baltimore. He had a knack for storytelling and a voice that carried the pain and pride of his neighborhood. Rapping on park benches or at school cafeterias, Dante began to earn a reputation, quiet but fierce, a kid with something to say. In a city where rap hadn't yet broken into the mainstream, he was determined to be the one to put his block on the map. In 2009, Dante, now in his early 20s, made his first real foray into the music scene. He teamed up with 3 other local rappers to form a group called Teflon Dons. The name, echoing the infamous nickname of mob boss John Gotti, signified that they aimed to be untouchable, slick enough to let the troubles of the street slide right off. That year, the Teflon Dons released their first mixtape, an underground project that made noise in Baltimore's hip-hop circles. G-Rock's gritty verses and raspy delivery immediately set him apart. He wasn't the loudest of the crew, but there was an intensity in his rhymes that listeners felt. He could rap about the block with the authority of someone who lived it, because he truly did. Before long, G-Rock decided to carve out his own lane. The group had given him a start, but he had bigger ambitions. He went solo not long after that first project, determined to develop his own sound and brand. In the years that followed, he dropped a string of mixtapes that showcased his growth. He branded many of these projects with the title G-Rock Mayweather, a nod to boxing champion Floyd Mayweather, perhaps symbolizing G-Rock's self-image as an unbeaten fighter in the rap arena. Each mixtape was like another round in the ring, G-Rock versus the odds. With each release, his buzz in the city grew. Tracks spread hand to hand on burned CDs and online via YouTube and DatPiff. By the early 2010s, G-Rock was becoming a fixture in Baltimore's underground rap scene, known for his relentless work ethic and authentic street anthems. What truly set G-Rock apart was the raw honesty in his music. He wasn't just rhyming about flashy cars or made-up gangster tales. He was recounting the life he knew. He could stun and swag on a track, sure, but he also wasn't afraid to get introspective. On one local favorite track, G-Rock delivered an impassioned verse where he openly questioned God about the situations he found himself in. Over a haunting, soulful beat, he poured out his doubts and fears, wondering aloud why life in West Baltimore was so unforgiving. It was the kind of vulnerability that many street rappers shy away from, but G-Rock embraced it. He balanced the grit with glimpses of conscience and heart. Listeners could tell that he wasn't just glorifying the streets, he was grappling with them, documenting both the highs and the harsh realities of a hustler's life. This ability to be both gangster and reflective earned him respect. In a scene full of bravado, G-Rock's authenticity shone through. That authenticity came with real street credibility. G-Rock wasn't a studio gangster, he was known and respected in the neighborhood. He and his closest friends formed a tight-knit circle, more like a family, that he often alluded to in his music. They had a mantra, TRC for life, which they tagged in Facebook posts and scrawled on t-shirts, though they never publicly explained its meaning. To outsiders, TRC was a mystery acronym. To G-Rock's crew, it was a bond. Around this time, Dante picked up the nickname 2 Clock, sometimes stylized as 2 Clock. Some say it was a play on words, a nod to carrying 2 Glocks, hinting that he was always armed and vigilant without actually saying it. Others interpreted it as symbolizing that G-Rock was always on his grind, round the clock, twice as focused as the average hustler. Either way, the nickname stuck, and G-Rock embraced it. He even used @Grok2Clocks as his handle on social media. The streets had given him a name and an identity, and he wore it with pride. These elements, the crew that he repped, and the moniker 2 Clocks only heightened the legend around him. G-Rock wasn't just an artist. On the west side, he was becoming a folk hero, the real deal, who hadn't forgotten where he came from. By the early 2010s, G-Rock's hustle was paying off in the form of local fame. He started releasing tracks that turned into Baltimore street anthems, passed around on thumb drives and blasted at block parties. Two of his songs in particular, I'm the One and Like I'm Supposed To, became bona fide hits on the local circuit. You could hear those songs rattling car trunks from Edmondson Avenue to Cherry Hill, bold head-nodding bangers that captured the confidence of a young man on the rise. In the I'm the One music video, G-Rock strutted through his neighborhood with gold fronts glinting in his mouth and a laid-back swagger that said he knew Baltimore was watching. Like I'm Supposed was equally infectious, a hooky track about living life on your own terms, doing things like you're supposed to when you're a boss. These songs weren't polished radio hits, but they were authentic, and that authenticity resonated. Local DJs spun his records at clubs, and his YouTube videos notched tens of thousands of views. For a Baltimore artist without a major label, that kind of attention was no small feat. G-Rock was building something real, a fan base right at home. As his reputation grew, doors started opening beyond Baltimore. G-Rock began rubbing shoulders with industry players and artists from outside the city. Perhaps the biggest sign of his rising profile was a collaboration that caught everyone by surprise. In mid-2015, G-Rock teamed up with Young Dolph, a fast-emerging rapper from Memphis, on a track called Winning. The song, produced by Atlanta hitmaker DJ Plug, was a hard-hitting trap anthem that combined G-Rock's Baltimore flavor with Dolph's southern drawl. For a Baltimore kid to land a feature from Young Dolph, who was on the cusp of national fame himself, was huge. It showed that G-Rock wasn't content being just a local legend. He was aiming for a broader spotlight. The winning collaboration created a buzz. Suddenly, people outside of Maryland were checking for G-Rock, curious about this hungry MC from Baltimore holding his own next to a southern star. And that was the only notable cosign. G-Rock also linked up with Atlanta rapper Alley Boy on a remix called Flute, and there were rumors he'd caught the attention of other big names like Kevin Gates. Fans noted the coincidental parallel between Gates' hit 2 Phones and G-Rock's alias 2 Clocks. Whether coincidence or not, it was clear G-Rock's network was expanding. He was no longer grinding alone in Baltimore. He had one foot in the larger rap game. Within Baltimore, G-Rock's influence was unmistakable. Many credit him as a key predecessor to the street-centric rap movement that took off in the city around 2014. Before names like Lord Scooter and Young Moose started bubbling, there was G-Rock, laying the groundwork with his mixtapes and hood anthems. Younger artists looked up to him. One of them, a West Baltimore rapper named YG Tech, actually got to work with G-Rock and felt the impact firsthand. In 2015, Tech featured G-Rock on a soulful, introspective track titled Questions. The song turned out to be a pivotal moment for the young Tech. G-Rock came in with a nearly 3-minute verse bearing his soul about life's hardships, and Tech followed with his own hungry rhymes. For Tech, it was like a torch being passed. Clocks was just different. He was the first artist I bumped into in the streets, Tech later said, marveling at how G-Rock had rolled up and offered him a chance to collaborate. G-Rock had played him a beat and told him jump on it then. When Tech sent back his verse, G-Rock was so impressed that he let Tech keep the song for his own mixtape, a generous move that showed G-Rock's character. That kind of mentorship is rare. It earned G-Rock a lot of love among his peers. He was the rising star who wasn't afraid to shine a light on the next man coming up. In the streets and studios of Baltimore, G-Rock was both a leader and a big brother figure. By the summer of 2015, it felt like G-Rock was on the verge of a breakthrough. After years of grinding, he had the city behind him and the industry starting to pay attention. There was even talk that G-Rock was close to signing his first record deal. For a kid from Edmondson Village, a record deal wasn't just a business move. It was validation, a ticket to level up out of the struggle. Those around Dante could sense how far he'd come. He was 29 years old and had matured not just as an artist, but as a man. He was a father, reportedly with 4 young children dependent on him, and he took that responsibility seriously. The money he earned from shows or features helped take care of his family. His hustle had a purpose behind it. With a potential deal on the table and his name hotter than ever, G-Rock was poised to take his music career to heights no Baltimore rapper of his generation had seen. This was a moment of real hope for G-Rock, for his family, and for Baltimore's rap scene at large. If G-Rock could make it, it would show that anyone from these streets could make it. However, the summer of 2015 in Baltimore was also one of the most turbulent and violent periods in the city's recent history. Just a few months earlier, in April 2015, the death of Freddie Gray in police custody had sparked outrage and days of civil unrest. The aftermath left the streets on edge. In the wake of the riots, Baltimore saw a dramatic spike in violence, a level of lawlessness not witnessed in 40 years. Gangs had capitalized on the chaos of the April unrest. They looted pharmacies and clinics, stealing hundreds of thousands of doses of prescription drugs, which they then funneled back into the neighborhoods.
Get you up to date now on some news, sad news actually, just coming into the newsroom. We are learning that we have just officially hit the 200th murder in the city of Baltimore this year. That includes one the police are investigating right now, taking place in the 2700 block of the Alameda. Now, leading up to these murders, one murder happened on North Partisan Park Avenue, another on Navarro Avenue, and the other on Gwynn Oaks Avenue. This time last year, we're looking at about 128 people who had been murdered in Baltimore. Today, ABC2 and Focus investigator Brian Kubler got an exclusive tour of the city's so-called war room to combat the recent spike in violence.
The result was a deadly drug turf war that summer. The police, under heavy scrutiny after Gray's death, struggled to reassert control. By July 2015, the murder count was skyrocketing. 45 people were murdered in Baltimore that month alone, the most in any month since the 1970s. West Baltimore, G-Rock's home turf, was one of the hardest hit areas. On any given night, gunshots echoed through the blocks of Edmondson Avenue. Opportunity and danger were racing neck and neck. This was the environment G-Rock was navigating as he stood on the cusp of fame. Every step forward in his music career was shadowed by the reality of life in the city. He knew all too well that in Baltimore, nothing was guaranteed. You could have a record label ready to sign you tomorrow and still lose everything in the blink of an eye on a dark corner tonight. But if you asked G-Rock at that time, he'd likely flash a humble smile and tell you he wasn't afraid. He had beaten the odds so far, from a rough childhood to a rising career, and he fully intended to keep on winning, just like his song. The streets made him, but the studio was about to save him, or so it seemed.
And acting like they ain't used to listen to G-Rock CDs and all that. Niggas catch a little buzz and it's like, fuck the kid and all that. I mean, it's cool. I'm definitely proud for the city because we came a long way. Like, I be in and out of state a lot, and people do be asking about certain people. You know what I mean? I don't throw them under the bus. I just, you know what I mean? Salute them.
City, how you get your name up?
For real, see, a lot of motherfuckers know me for my big homeboy, free my nigga Oak, man, free 40, feel me, free Frazier. I've been in the streets since I was like 12 years old. But when I came out with this rap shit, I used to go to the club for real. You know, average dope boy shit, give out my CDs, give them out to the ladies, give them out to the niggas, spread them out all around the community.
On the night of July 30, 2015, Dante G-Rock Dixon Jr.'s rising career was cut tragically short by gunfire in his own West Baltimore neighborhood. Just one day prior, the 29-year-old rapper had been riding high. One of his last Instagram posts showed him walking through a Baltimore mall with Louisiana rap star Kevin Gates on July 29. Shortly before Gates' concert in the city, G-Rock had been generating major local buzz that summer with singles like D-Boy Walk and Winning, a track featuring Atlanta's Young Dolph. In anticipation of his upcoming mixtape, G-Rock Mayweather 3, Friends, later noted he was close to his first record deal at the time, but within 24 hours of that Gates meetup, the streets of Baltimore would be shaken by his loss. Late on July 3rd, around 10:15 p.m., G-Rock stopped at the Shell gas station in the 4500 block of Edmondson Avenue, a spot in Edmondson Village where he was well known. While he was there, unknown assailant opened fire, hitting him multiple times. The barrage of bullets suggests G-Rock was deliberately targeted. Critically wounded, he was rushed to the hospital, but doctors could not save him. He succumbed to his injuries later that night. Police identified the victim as Dante Dixon Jr., better known as local rapper G-Rock. His killing marked one of 45 homicides in Baltimore that July, the city's most violent month in 43 years. Don G-Rock was just 29 years old, a father and beloved son with a promising future ahead. The murder scene itself painted a grim picture. Streetlights flickered outside the Shell station as detectives combed the area for shell casings and witnesses. The gas station, situated near Edmondson and Swan Avenues, was no stranger to trouble. In fact, it had long been a hotbed for open-air drug dealing and crime. The station's manager would later report, suspected dealers make the store's property their own to do business, contributing to an unsafe atmosphere. That night, however, the usual bustle of the corner gave way to flashing police lights and crime scene tape. Neighbors peered from behind doors and windows, but few came forward publicly. G-Rock was hurried into an ambulance, and by the next day, news of his death spread through the city. No arrests were immediately made, and to this day the case remains unsolved. Baltimore police appealed for anyone with information to come forward, but as is often the case, investigators face silence. Detectives are busy trying to solve these murders and face trying times, since many people are reluctant to cooperate. One report noted of the 2015 violence spike. The stop niching culture and fear of retribution made witnesses to G-Rock's shooting scarce. Officially, no suspects have ever been publicly identified, and the motive for the rapper's slaying remains a matter of speculation. In the absence of answers, the Baltimore community and online forums erupted with grief and theories. Fans and friends flooded social media with tributes to G-Rock's talent and potential. On Reddit, one user lamented how G-Rock was gonna blow and got killed at the Shell in Edmondson Shopping Center. He had a song with Kevin Gates on his last mixtape. He was the best out of Baltimore at the time of his death. This heartfelt post reflected the sense that Baltimore had lost a rising star on the verge of breakout success. Many who knew G-Rock or loved his music were heartbroken. He had started out with the local rap group Teflon Dons before going solo, and by 2015 he was viewed as an OG who paved the way for the city's new wave of street rap. Now, suddenly, he was gone. Vigils were held in the neighborhood and friends tagged posts with "Long Live G-Rock," struggling to make sense of the senseless. Speculation about the cause of the murder swirled in street gossip and online discussions. Some theorized it was a case of jealousy or personal beef, perhaps someone from a rival neighborhood or a former acquaintance who envied his success. Others suspected a more organized hit. The killing happened amid a chaotic surge of violence in Baltimore. City officials partly blamed gang warfare and drug turf battles for the bloodshed. It's gang warfare, it's organized crime, warned City Councilman Carl Stokes as the body count climbed that summer. The situation on the streets was volatile. During the April 2015 riots, looters had stolen 175,000 doses of prescription drugs from pharmacies, flooding the black market. Law enforcement later noted that this influx of drugs fueled turf wars between crews, leading to a spike in shootings. Given that G-Rock's home turf of Edmondson Village had its share of drug trade activity, as evidenced by frequent police calls to that same gas station, many assumed his murder could have been game or tied to the local drug economy in some way. In the years since, Baltimore police and federal agents have tried to crack down on violent gangs citywide, and several high-profile indictments have come down, but G-Rock's killers have never been brought to justice. His family and fans are still waiting for closure. Every anniversary of that July night brings fresh posts on social media remembering his legacy. G-Rock's posthumous mixtape Mayweather 3 was eventually released, a bittersweet reminder of the talent the city lost. His story remains a cautionary tale of a young man who escaped the pitfalls of the streets through music, only to fall victim to the very violence he rapped about. The exact events leading up to the shooting, what conversations or confrontations happened in the hours before, are unknown outside of those involved. What is known is that July 30, 2015 was a warm summer night filled with tragedy. A gifted rapper's life was brutally taken, leaving behind grieving loved ones and a mystery that endures. For now, G-Rock's death lives on in Baltimore's collective memory as an unsolved homicide amid a deadly summer. It highlights the perils that many local artists face and the climate of lawlessness that plagued the city at that time. Whether his killing was due to gang turf conflict, a personal vendetta, or some confrontation at the gas station that night, the truth has yet to come to light. What remains is the loss of a promising talent who had overcome the odds to put his neighborhood on the map, only to become another statistic in a city struggling to stem the tide of violence.